Welcome back to another video. Today we have an anime review for Golden Time. But first I'd like to remind you to subscribe if you haven't yet, that way you get all of the updates on my latest anime reviews. Golden Time is a romantic comedy slice of life following our main character Banri, a college student who's suffering from amnesia. Yes, amnesia, I know it's really cliche, and that's what makes Golden Time such a polarizing series. It's hard for me to completely understand how I feel about Golden Time because it uses so many cliche anime tropes and so many overused character stereotypes that it really doesn't need to. When watching Golden Time, I felt that it had the proper structure to create a good romantic comedy, but then it used all of these cliche characters and plot devices as an unnecessary crutch. It honestly felt like they went out of their way to make this series as cliche as it was, and that's never a good thing. Outside of our main character Banri, we have a large cast of supporting characters. There's Coco, a beautiful yet obsessive girl who's a total drama queen and overreacts to everything. And this would usually be the part where I would give a brief description of all of the important or relevant characters to the story, but I feel like I would be wasting my time if I did that because the story makes you feel like all of these other characters, and there are a lot of them, just aren't that important to the overall story. But of course there is the exception of Linda, but she's basically a walking plot device and I can't really talk about her too much because she's kind of a spoiler character. It's pretty obvious that she's supposed to be this viable alternative romantic interest for Banri, but anyone can see that this really isn't the case just because of how little the story develops her. In fact, one thing that irritated me was how much screen time all of Banri's friends were given. Normally this would be a good thing, but I felt like all of these side characters only serve the purpose of validating Banri's worth to others and making it feel like you're watching the story of someone's real life. These characters are very shallow, which is strange because they're not one-dimensional. They actually grow as the plot unfolds, but they still in the end are just accessory pieces to the story. They all take up a lot of screen time, but we don't really get to learn much about any of their histories, and whenever it comes time for any character development, it always goes to Banri or the rare occasion Coco. If you're gonna make it look like you have a strong supporting cast, then you need to take that time to focus on the individual character and show some of their past or at least some of the insight into what makes them tick. And what makes it worse is that they had enough time to do that, but they decided to fill it with dialogue from other equally unimportant characters. I think that they should have cut out a lot of this unnecessary dialogue and reduced the episode count to about 12 or 16, or at least remove some of these unnecessary characters and focus on strengthening the development of Linda, Mitsuo, and Shinami. It appeared that Linda had some character development, but in reality it only served as another form of development for Banri. And it's sad to say this because I was more interested into the lives of Banri's friends than Banri himself. Banri was a very wimpy, whiny, shy individual that appeared to fall in love with any woman that would show him a bit of individual attention. On top of that, Banri's returning memories were personified in the form of a ghost that follows him around, and there were a few dialogue scenes. Honestly, I felt like this whole amnesia situation was just a plot device, which was a poor attempt at adding depth and layers to the series. It sounds good on paper, but it doesn't really work out well when you're watching it. Will Banri's memories return and cause him to forget about the love interest, which takes up 35 to 40% of the screen time? Or will he forget about her and choose the other love interest, which doesn't really have any development and is only around when it's convenient? None of it really works out as well as I think that they thought it would have, and about halfway through the series, you can already tell what's going to happen at the end. It's pretty predictable. From my perspective, there are three major arcs in the series. The first arc is what I would like to call the friend zone arc, where Banri is repeatedly pushed to the sidelines by every girl that he shows interest in. I enjoyed that arc because for me, the story was still a toss-up. It could have been anything because I didn't know anything about it going into it aside from Golden Time is good, go watch Golden Time, so that's really all I knew. The second arc is where the plot thickens, because this is where every girl that sidelined him in the first arc now becomes interested in him. Now, this middle part of the series is the most enjoyable because this is where all of the characters grow a little bit, and we see the bulk of the romantic elements here, where Coco and Banri will go on dates, where he meets her father, and then there's a lot of romantic and dramatic elements and moments between the two. Banri dating Coco is technically technically a spoiler if you are under 3 or 4 episodes in and you had no idea what's going on or anything what the story was going to be about, because you can technically understand that just by reading some of the synopsis or looking at some of the pictures of the series. It's also pretty obvious from watching the series that she's going to be your major love interest because she's the girl who gets the most development, and it's just all signs point towards Coco. And that's another problem that I had with the writing here, was that it expects you to think that there's going to be multiple love interests, but from the way that the story is written, it's obvious that it's just this one girl because she has most of the screen time and most of the development. Now, this third arc is where the story goes downhill because Banri's character breaks down in a very unbelievable and dramatic way due to his amnesia. It didn't so much as appear that Banri had amnesia as it did that he had split personalities that would change his memories in and out at really convenient times as the story came to a close. Now, I know that I made a lot of negative points against Golden Times, but don't get me wrong. I actually enjoyed the side characters. That's why I wanted them to have proper development. And the character Nana, I liked her a lot. I was surprised by her just because she was she felt like a very strong reference to the series Nana. Now, the comedy had me laughing a bit. It was either hit or miss for me because there were times when it was genuinely funny and other times it more relied on your tolerance of these cliche anime stereotype characters. Coco as a character, at first she's very annoying. She's this drama queen that overreacts to everything, but she actually has layers and depth and she really grows on you. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really like her character that much. Personally, she reminds me of this girl that I dated years back, and it was kind of annoying putting up with that sort of thing, but what am I left with? The only other character that you could possibly prefer as a love interest is Linda, but she doesn't have enough development to really see her as a viable option. Liking or disliking Golden Time all comes down to how tolerable you are of cliche anime tropes and stereotypical anime characters. As for the presentation, I thought the animation was beautiful. They did a great job of portraying these characters' emotions through their expressions and also their eyes. Golden Time had a great usage of color and featured many different settings within Tokyo, and it really made you feel like they were living there and you were getting a small tour of it in ways. The soundtrack was also on point, matching the backgrounds to the emotions of the appropriate scenes, and for a romantic comedy, its opening and closing were pretty good. At this time, there's no English dub, so I watched this with the Japanese audio in subtitle, and I thought they did a great job of casting all of these characters well, and everyone acted out their parts beautifully, allowing you to feel for these characters at times. Overall, I felt that Golden Time was a melodramatic romance series that feigned the illusion of having multiple potential endings. While it did deliver with some of its romantic and comedic elements, I felt that it could have been written much better. To be honest, it came out too cliche and too sappy. I give Golden Time a 7 out of 10. If you don't mind having cliche characters, or if you haven't seen too many anime romance series, then definitely check out, because there are enjoyable things about Golden Time, but to me, I just felt that it was too cliche and sappy. If you've seen or read Golden Time, then let me know your thoughts about it in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support with your likes and comments. Be sure to check out my viewer choice top 5 romance anime and also my anime review playlist if you want to see more reviews. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.